And by the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes. Yes, indeed, another older Disney horror type movie. Something wicked this way comes. I hadn't seen this one before. And unlike The Watcher in the Woods, Disney is not currently burying this. Now, I do feel like it didn't used to be on Disney Plus streaming, but it is at present. So, go on out, give it a view if you get the chance. Uh, who knows how long it'll be there? Like I said, I'm pretty positive it wasn't there before. But, anyways, I hadn't seen this before. I knew it by reputation more as a general story because I like Ray Bradbury. I have not read all of Something Wicked This Way Comes. I remember starting to read it, I think in middle school. I don't think there was anything specific that made me stop. I just kind of had a habit. At that age, I started a lot of books and then, you know, got a third to halfway through and got distracted by something else and then didn't come back to it and picked up another book instead. ADHD, it's a thing. But I think there are some aspects of Bradbury that this does a pretty good job of capturing. There's other aspects that I'm not sure it does, but then again, that I'm not an expert on the book, but I'm also kind of going by energy and the fact that it's not quite to the level of something like Lovecraft in terms of the descriptions really not translating very well to visual mediums. In the case of Lovecraft, it's because he literally describes things as indescribable. Or kind of the hang up that happens with a lot of Stephen King, where what makes it scary is how palpably he describes fear, and then as a result, when you make a movie and just show the thing that someone's afraid of, but you don't have his prose describing that sense of fear, suddenly it doesn't work nearly as well. I'm not sure it's quite to that level, but I do feel like there's a little bit of something lost from page to screen. But there's some stuff that's captured here too. I think this has a really good, for lack of a better way to put it, autumnal energy. I don't want to say Halloween energy because it's not quite that. It is just sort of a general. I mean, and maybe part of it is the fact that like one of the first shots is literally just autumn leaves, but it has this feeling of that transitionary period, which it's dealing with in a lot of ways of being a child and moving towards adulthood, the boy into a man and all that. It's not quite that straightforward, but it does have that on its mind. And especially because in addition to that notion of boys, having some desire to be men or to be grown, you also have an adult missing his youth. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. This is a period piece. I don't know exactly when it's set, but it's like ways back, like early 1900s kind of thing. And we're dealing with two young boys, Will and Jim, and they're best friends. And there is a traveling carnival that comes to town and seems to just be, well, first of all, ominous and unsettling, but also seems to be tempting in odd and slightly off kilter ways, capturing and taking away various town residents. And the boys start to get well, not really a full handle on what's going on, but definitely know that something's up. And those in the carnival don't want the boys finding out anymore. It is a setup that I think is very ripe for sort of young, not like super young, but youngish reader, sort of scary adventure. It has that whole setup and feeling. And Will's dad, who is older, I mean, not just by virtue of the fact that he's a dad, but like even by dad standards, he's an older parent, especially for the time in which it's set. He started having kids later in life, and that kind of weighs on him, as well as kind of a specific incident from the past that we find out a bit more about later. and his relationship with Will is a little bit strained. That character is really well played, though. You know who else is really well played is the head of the carnival, Mr. Dark, played by a rather young and sharply dressed Jonathan Pryce. It's really interesting seeing him play this part, especially at that age, because while he's certainly capable of playing villainous or antagonistic characters, or at least characters that exude a certain amount of danger about them, he's been a Bond villain, a Bond villain. He's been a Bond villain, and his role in Game of Thrones as the High Sparrow kind of had a certain menace to him, even as low key as he was. But this is a lot more direct, which is interesting, and it's sort of it has that nervous energy that he tapped into a lot when he was a younger performer, and even still some when he got older. But it does have kind of that nervous energy, but it's directed in the sense of he's really eager to do bad things, and he gets a little fidgety if he thinks somebody's in his way. I like the energy he brings to this a lot, especially the confrontation scene between him and Will's father. If you've seen the movie, you know I'm talking about, where he's just tearing pages out of this book and the full context for what he's doing and what that represents. It's good. It's real good. The kid actors are pretty solid. I mean, they're not amazing. Child actors, it is what it is. But I think they sell what they need to sell with the characters. Pam Grier is in this, and I didn't spot her right away because they almost always have her behind a veil, like a very elaborate veil, or there's a whole range of veils they have her behind. So I didn't spot her right off, but that was an interesting thing to see. It is of its time in terms of the scope and sort of. I mean, if you've seen 80s horror that either was made for, again, not like a young audience, but it's like a teenage audience, or that ended up appealing to a teenage audience, whether it was made for them or not. Your Lost Boys, your Fright Nights. I mean, heck, sure, throw it out there. Your Watcher in the Woods, stuff like that. That is meant to be like a little, put you a little on edge, be a little bit tense, but is also not meant to get truly horrifying. It's not meant to go that dark. It balances that really nicely. And if you have a nostalgia for that era of this kind of movie in particular, and you haven't already seen it, I would definitely consider checking it out. It's it's always interesting to sort of take in these sorts of movies that I haven't seen before, but they're from eras that I know, eras of film that I'm familiar with, and to see something like give me the feeling that I know stuff from this time period does, even though I hadn't seen this specific one before. That's just a nice experience for me. I don't want to oversell it. It As it gets towards the tail end, like some of the final confrontations are like, I get what's going on. They're a little underexplained and yet simultaneously slightly anticlimactic. It works, and there's actually for what ends up happening to Mr. Dark, there's some really well done practical effects on that, so I don't want to knock it. But again, this is one of these things that I'm like, I like this, but I also want to be careful about overselling it. Because I've run into that in the past intermittently, where I've been like, I quite like this and think people should check out, and the people watching like, boy, you hyped that up, and I'm like, wasn't trying to. I liked it, and I said I did. But yeah, if 80s era sort of family teenager appealing style horror, that isn't about being gory and jump scares, if that has an appeal to you, or if you're nostalgic for this kind of thing, or if you've seen this specific one before but you haven't seen it in a while, give it a watch. Ideally, I would have gotten this out in October. I missed it by a little bit, but you know what? Christmas can wait its dang turn. Right now, we're closer to Halloween than we are even to Thanksgiving, to say nothing of Christmas. So I'm allowed this little lingering thing. So there you go. Something wicked this way comes. I liked it. I liked it a fair bit. Have you seen it? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills. It enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. They all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Subin Lutfulla, Auntie Kate 808, Mara G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, The Baba Duchess, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, Pau Baraba Joggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. I also want to give my thanks to all the supporters who didn't get named, because you are all indeed very nifty people. You could be a nifty person too if you go support me on Patreon. And there's the clause. Ugh.